Welcome on in everybody to our next cast from the Pick Your Poison AOE2 tournament organized by Daniela, Komi, and the rest of the guys, who I thank immensely for putting on this event for everybody here to enjoy. This time around we're looking at a matchup from Group F. This is going to be considerably higher elo than the latest couple of matches I've cast, and also considerably higher than myself, so let's see if we actually find interesting stuff to comment on here nonetheless. So these two guys are RBase 96 and Hitman 999. Both of these guys have already, of course, won their first round matchup against another opponent and are now looking to move on into the semi-finals. So let's see which one of them ended up prevailing. Game 1, as you see right there, is going to be played on Nomad again. And the drafts are as follows. We see Burbus versus Mayans as the first game matchup. So having understood all that, let's dive right into the games here. Kick it off with game 1 on Nomad. Orange against blue, pretty decent colors. So let's see how this ends up going there. Mayans in the orange, Burbus in the blue. Alright, very far south actually the Mayan TC. The Burbus are going to be putting it right here. Let's check these initial locations out, both of course on a wood line. Some food is definitely there for the Mayans, but other than that there's not a lot to work with. Those gold and stone resources are maybe a bit further away than you would ideally hope for. Already pulling the boar though. Okay, so we can see that this is definitely a bit higher elo than what we've previously seen. Actually doing a good job here, kiting the boar all the way back until, yeah, all the way back to the town center, so that's going to be good. Now let's see. Well, they're actually just going to die. Oh, but, oh man, I definitely jinxed it. That's my bad. Oh man, that's so my bad. Oh, so unfortunate here. Nomad, I mean, that's absolutely massive. Starting with 2 instead of 3 villagers on Nomad. Rough look. I've already got the dock here for the mines, but of course, no wood just yet to be able to get those fishing ships out. Town center is also going to take a lot more time here, I suppose, than for the Burbus, simply because that one villager dying means it's gonna take quite a while before you can get that one up and running. And so, that's going to be the Mayans starting at a bit of a disadvantage, of course. It is still the Mayans, and with that, let's check out the Civ bonuses for both these guys. It is still the Mayans, and as you see, plop, ends the villager. Does the villager end up coming out as the town center is constructed? So, at least getting some sort of an injection here to help get back on track. But still, since the town center ended up coming out so late, that's going to be our base. One villager behind at the start of this, and of course also if we compare the wood counts as at the top, that fishing ship production is going to be delayed by quite a while. So the Civ bonuses though. Mayans, well known for their archers, way cheaper all throughout the game, so can definitely get a lot more archers on the field than pretty much any other Civ. Also have really nice Eagle Warriors in the late game though. So that extra 40 HP makes them incredibly beefy if you can get there. Other than that, Plumed Archer, well known for their mobility, raiding potential, versatile use for that archer unit. But again, that also only becomes available in Castle Age. The longer lasting resources can be pretty big, especially in Nomad also if you don't have a lot of rest to work with, which sometimes can be the case. This time around the boar lure does go decidedly better, and no more villagers end up dying. Now, having seen enough of RBase's mild struggles in the early game, let's head on over to Hitman and see how they are doing and what they are working with. We've got Burbus here, who are one of the most played saves in the tournament so far, at least in the games that I've casted. That is, you see the fishing ship production here, having gotten off to an earlier start, meaning already 2 of them out for Hitman, but has since not been able to make another one, so the gap isn't as huge as you might have expected there, just 2 eco units, quote unquote. But the higher level of play we actually are looking at, the higher or the bigger the difference is going to be from seemingly minuscule eco differences, and having a 2 to 3 eco unit advantage, such as Hitman has right here, that can potentially snowball throughout the game. So it's definitely nothing to scoff at here in the early game. Berbers, though, are well known for the fast-moving villages, but also for the cavalry unit, stable unit discounts. I also love their 2 unique units there with the Genitor and the Camarcho, of course. Pretty versatile if there, as far as I'm concerned. All of these units being on horseback also makes them very mobile, while still, again, having responses for archer play, having responses for cavalry archers even. So it's pretty cool what you can do with those. Still not without their weaknesses, obviously, but there is a reason why they've been picked quite often. Also, the faster moving ships here. You might underestimate this bonus, but if you're working with a lot of fishing ships and they start having to travel longer distances, that bonus actually is some sort of a handcart type thing for farmers, where kind of can go under the radar how much it can help out. So, having said all that, we still have the predicament that we started with, where the Mayans are kind of trying to recover from that early loss of the villager. If anybody's going to be able to do that, it's going to be the Mayans, though. And RBase, as we see at the top right here, quite the higher seed in this matchup. Again, got to give props to Hitman for actually surviving round 1 as the 11th seed. And yeah, RBase, so definitely going to be the favorite heading into this one. I think is about around a 1600 elo player, if I'm not mistaken. Whereas Hitman 1550, I think. So it's definitely playable, but there's some sort of a gap here. We see some villager fighting actually starting, but with the Berbers, you're usually just able to run away, which this woman is going to be able to do. As we just said, was going to get walled in otherwise, so good attention there by Hitman, able to get out of there before anything terrible ended up occurring. Good to see you in chat, Hitman. Always nice to have the players actually here, because they can provide some extra insight into their decisions at times. And yeah, I wonder, did you suspect maybe RBase of having some troubles early game? Because in case you missed it, RBase lost his first villager, like one of the starting villagers. He tried to lure a boar down to the town center that he was building and ended up losing that villager. So before the town center was even up, the Mayans were behind by a villager. I'm curious if you suspected any such thing, by maybe the early score that you were able to get. You saw his TC was laid up. Alright, yeah, that makes sense then, because it really was quite behind yours, and that's where the Mayan, or the Berber villager lead is mainly coming from here. As we saw, was always one villager ahead of the Mayans, and is also able to get up to feudal age much faster, although the gap isn't as big as you might have initially suspected. In terms of resource collected, we can see the difference, though. It's 200 to 300 here that the Berbers are already yeah, up on their opponents, so to speak. Still lots of food available here. If I'm the Berbers, I'm pretty happy with the amount of food that I still got at home with all those goats. Still a few deers left even as well, so nice. Definitely like to see that. Compare that to the Mayans, who are kind of already looking, scrambling a bit, trying to find some food. Let's check them out. They have vision of the berries. Okay, so they actually see the deers and the berries down here. I wonder if there's going to be a mill made down here rather soon, because milling the deer plus the berries surely would be a worthwhile thing in the long run. Also some more deers over here in the east, so maybe RBase is going to be able to get that as well. Starting out with some outposts, interestingly here, both of these guys. That is something that we haven't really seen on Nomad just yet, but again, I've mainly been casting lower elo games, so maybe that has something to do with it as well. Both players having arrived to feudal age, meaning we're seeing some water play, and we see the 2 galleys out for Hitman, interestingly, and only now going into fire ships. RBase right out of the gate with those fires is going to try and take back here the water before losing too many fishing ships. Of course, galleys don't really melt enemy ships as quickly as fire ships would do. Wonder why the galley opening was actually chosen here by the Berbers, but actually I kind of like it as well. And even denying some of these deer here, trying to block with the fishing ships is RBase, and has some success. Takes out that galley here. Having the faster moving ships though for the Berbers kinda makes sense why you would want to go for galleys maybe, because the kiting is pretty smooth with that actually. So the spearman ends up dying. Get some good scouting intel in on the Mayans though, so you don't hit that. Oh, interestingly, Hitman, galleys are actually better against fishing ship. Is that so? I didn't even know that. Maybe it's the Pierce armor being super low on those. So thanks for telling me that. But yeah, maybe you were expecting to have a bit of an advantage over the Mayans there and didn't expect them to hit feudal age this quickly. And thus they maybe surprised you a bit by getting feudal age earlier than anticipated and being able to strike back with the fire ships. Or maybe it's just common practice to always go galleys when you're the first to feudal age. Again, not too familiar with water matters and with this high elo level play, but it's interesting to see how these guys ended up choosing to play it. I like the diversity here for Hitman. Also has one demo ship and another one now in this forward dock here, so if RBase ends up clumping those fire galleys too close together, you could be seeing some big hits here. So far, actually not electing to group them up a lot and only now pulls them forward. I think, yeah, Hitman's really trying their bait here, and of course, RBase privy to the fact that this dock might harbor some secrets, if you catch my drift. Alright, that was a pretty decent one actually. I think Hitman definitely happy with the trade so far. Still a bit behind in terms of numbers though, and maybe a bit overeager now taking this fight. Loses a few of those fire galleys and actually going for some land walls next. If you take a look at the overall eco situation, both of these guys approaching Castle Age, it does look like Hitman doesn't want to invest all that much into water actually, and is maybe focusing on the land and onto getting to Castle Age for now. Queuing up a few more fire galleys, has definitely some gold left over, so that is not going to be needed to get to Castle Age. Look at these fast moving fishing ships up here in the north though. That's the Berber bonus here really coming through. Hitman expecting the opponent to possibly go fast castle, and that's why I guess Hitman didn't want to overinvest in navy, if I understand that correctly, because those warships do cost quite a lot of gold, and that delays your Castle Age timing by quite a bit the more of those you queue up. And it is actually RBase who is moving on to Castle Age a little bit earlier than the opponent. Still the eco lead slightly in favor of Berbers, but let's again compare the resources collected real quick, and it's still the same 200 to 300 resource gap from that we saw at the start of feudal age. So very interesting. These guys have kind of been keeping the same pace, and to those forward fire ships are giving Hitman some trouble now. Looks like he's going to be losing another one, but at least is able to trade one for one here. Doesn't focus the same one here, but with the demo coming in, still going to be a one skirmish for him. So the trades continue to be closed there on land. That's not the trade you want to see though. Oh man, this kinda carnival type looking guy with the eagle costume really giving some trouble to our spear throwing dude. And again we see Hitman trying to harass with the galley forward, cutting through some fishing ships here and actually finding decent success with this. I'm not sure RBase has actually realized this just yet as he finally takes out the skirmisher, working away at this dock instead of protecting his fishing ship. I think there's definitely some attention lacking on this part of the map, but of course I can understand that it's nomad, it's often a bit chaotic, and Hitman's definitely going to be happy with those trades in the last minute or two. Might end up losing that galley, but even so, the fast movement speed of that really can come in clutch here. Able to still annoy the opponent a bit with it, and both guys now up to Castle Age. Let's see how they play this one. Sort of forward-ish TC being dropped here by the Mayans out of the gate. They put up that one outpost both, so not immediately able to drop another town center. Berbers still kinda undecided maybe about where they want to drop their TCs. Still holding on to that stone and wood. I really wonder, are they just not going to drop another town center for a while here? Or are they just busy as of now? Because there is some army from the Mayans. That's going to be posing some trouble here. Knight against Eagle is really good. Whenever you can trade that as the Bertha, you're gonna be great with that. No issues there. Eagle Warrior is super good against any projectile units, especially early on. If you don't have that many upgrades, you really don't want to be fighting cavalry or infantry. That's going to be bloody and bad trades for you. Mayans now with that second TC up, they're kind of lacking the food economy though. They don't have any fishing ships anymore, so losing those in the corner here really ended up kind of making a difference here. Can't sustain 2 town center production for now, and the Knights going forward here, even able to tank a lot of arrow fire. And just looking to see where they maybe can get some harassment in. Eco numbers still looking relatively comparable, as finally the second town center has gone up for the Berbers as well. Knights still trying to kind of loop around and see where some damage can be done. But good job, RBase doing their homework here, making sure nobody gets in. Palisades go up, and the Knights for now are being kept out. My crossbow numbers start getting bigger though, and monks being added to defend against the Knights is a good choice. Oh, it was open the entire time. That could be 2 or 3 dead villagers here, as we see the Knights storm in here. Man, yeah, you hate to see it there for the Mayans. Upgrade is fully upgraded feudal age cavalry, so they hurt. They really do. Good job actually finding that one hole in the wall, and that's what you typically end up punching yourself for afterwards in this game. So we've all been there. That one palisade wall that he was missing, keeping those Knights out, ended up costing him another 2 villages. And the Knights again possibly able to get in there, but really nice walls there in the end. Of course, still the Knights do some good damage to those walls, but cannot commit for them since the crossbow fire is now getting a bit too much. Ends up losing those 2 before the reinforcements come in. Monk out from the Mayans, 2 actually, so you really gotta be careful if you're Hitman. You don't want to give your cavalry on over to the opponent. Those Knight conversions, especially with low numbers like this, you can't afford to lose those Knights to enemy monks, and does a good job getting them out of harm's way. Has also won the water for now, and RBase does not seem to be interested in going back for that and contesting again. So for now, attention is going to be shifted to land, but all those fishing ships still alive for the Berbers are going to be a great sign for their eco. I think they are loving the game state right now, despite it being a little bit difficult on land, because that's of course where the Mayans are now focusing their main attention. Palisade wall easily being broken open, and you gotta find some defenses here. Now that is interesting army composition. A few monks makes Knights very difficult to maneuver. The mangonels really call for cavalry though in order to be taken out. So let's see how Hitman is able to play it. Can maybe try to trade with some mangonels himself. We see the mangonel getting produced here, but not actually initially going for the trades there. Rather pulls it to the back. And let's see how he plays that one. He's gonna transition into another town center to the side. I like that move. If you can just stall the push a little bit, I think you're gonna be fine with that. Now tries to maybe maneuver a bit forward. Good shot on the mangonels, trading 1 for 1. I think that is okay-ish, because as soon as those mangonels go out, you can maybe try play this one with skirmishers. That would be an option. We see one of them. One of them is maybe a bit too little. You're kind of stretching yourself a bit too thin there, I believe. Trying to get another mangonel out. Oh, I'm not sure it's going to complete, but it just barely is able to get out of there. Okay, so he's got another shot at trying to maybe trade another 1 for 1. I think he'd be more than fine with that, being able to hold the enemy push, doing some good back and forth juking here. The monk's going to heal that damage back up. Good shot on the mangonel. RBase ended up getting outmaneuvered here. I think with the bare right click, it wasn't enough. Good micro though on the crossbowman, able to dodge all of that damage from the mangonel, and the monks now 3 in numbers, making it difficult for the enemy knights to approach. Repair villager here coming in. Good decision there. Good shot on the crossbowman as well. And the mangonel ends up being taken out. Now the knights storm him though, with 1 being converted. I don't think this is the worst trade for the opponent here. Hitman is, I think, getting a real good one. Able to take out the enemy mangonel as well. And I think those monks are all going to go down. A few more crossbowmen maybe even. But I think I would just go straight for that mangonel here in his place. Although, wow, those crossbowmen really low after those mangonel shots had come in, and now even his own mangonel taking out his crossbow. Oh, terrible trade for RBase. And Hitman, man, it's the 11th seed, but he's really getting work done on these crossbowmen. They have a combined 31 HP among them. I hope he's got another siege workshop up. He does not. I think you really want one up though. If the opponent continues to try and use mangonels and crossbows, I think the siege workshop is your best friend. And this is a really entertaining game so far. Both of these guys definitely not letting loose. But the fishing economy here is definitely real nice to have in the back pocket there for Hitman, able to easily sustain triple town center production there in terms of villagers. Has a slight villager lead now. Got a little bit housed there, but I think it's fine overall. Adding even more stables. So let's see how that goes for him. In the south now the push continues to get mustered for the Mayans. I wonder what their long-term plan is in this one, because it would appear as though they're just going for the same thing again, trying to break through here in the south. Not a lot happening for them in the west or really anywhere else. The wars are also kind of half-hearted here for the Mayans. They are really open to the sides, and if you know your opponent is going heavily into knights, you really want to wall yourself in a little bit more thoroughly, I believe. So he's kind of playing a bit with fire, as that woman was kind of probably ousted from the tribe. That's what exiling a person can do. And in go the crossbowmen now. You gotta be careful though if you're RBase. You know the enemy's got some decent mangonel moves up their sleeve, and luckily for the Mayans, no new siege workshop has been put up by the Berbers so far. Interesting choice to actually castle on over here. You're protecting a lot of stone and gold with it, so it's a decent castle to go for, I believe. I'm definitely not opposed to this one. But it's interesting. Our Hitman really doesn't seem to be all that worried about the push that's going on in the middle right here. And that is because there's no siege at all for the Mayans, and they aren't really showing big army numbers. So I can understand the confidence for Hitman to actually go forward and try and raid now, just as the Mayans go forward with their own villages and try to drop that forward castle. Let's see who is going to be able to get damage done first, and which damage is going to be more impactful. We see the knights in the woodline now. The garrison comes out, and that's a few kills already. 4 villages taken out by these knights, and they continue to raid. On the other end though, that castle is probably going to go up, since all the knights are being used on offense currently. For Hitman, I really hope for him he's not going to throw away this good game stat that he's in right now with this push. That castle is absolutely massive if it ends up going up, denying 2 enemy town centers here kinda. But the raid on the other side is also nothing to scoff at. Imp also being queued up for Hitman now, luckily in one of the in the safe town center, and trying to break into the enemy gold line now. I think sooner or later he's going to be able to break in there. Maybe going through the gate would have been a good call as well. But that castle in his own town has got to give him some trouble now. I think he's pretty confident that he's able to go up to Imperial Age first though, and thus with trebuchets he's gonna be able to clean this one up rather soon. So if you don't panic right now, transition your eco to somewhere safe. You've got the very fast moving villagers. I think you're gonna be fine there, and with the rating that he's been able to do, 9 kills on these knights, alright, that's definitely decent. 10 kills actually. Man, it might be difficult for the Mayans. They certainly accomplished something by dropping that forward castle, but I'm not sure it's going to be sticking around for all that long. The will walking into the arches. Oh, 4 of them. Must have been a gathering point issue there. I hadn't even noticed the previous ones. Of course, unfortunately. Look, and actually going for the side castle here again, further securing their flanks here are the Berbers. And that's a good choice, of course, but I again got to question the Mayans for playing this open against the opponent who has been building knights all game. And the forward castle is nice, denies really a lot of eco space, even able to take out a few more villages here. But being late to Imperial Age is probably going to mean this castle is not going to stay up for all that long. Although that being said, barely 2 minutes is the gap between imp timings, and if the Mayans can somehow sustain through 2 minutes of trap fire, repairing that one up, maybe they can turn the tides that way. It's difficult to say, really, as though might be able to get 1 or 2 town centers down, but man, imp has just come in for Hitman, and we see, of course, immediately those traps being queued up. How's this gonna go for the Mayans? Conscription in the castle to the east. Really good choice there as well. And RBase only now getting ballistics, adding a few pikemen maybe. Halberdier, of course, with the Mayans, really good option too. Against such heavy cavalry users as the Berbers. I like the choice to kind of preemptively tack into that. Takes out one enemy town center. But we see Hitman already unpacking that trebuchet and starting the fire now. 30 seconds away from him is RBase. Is he going to start repairing this one, or what's going to be the plan here? Because he really needs this castle to stay up, I believe. That's kind of everything. Well, the only advantage that he's gained in this game so far, but there's lots of knights here for the enemy. I'm not even sure Hitman can position his traps in a good way where they can't get sniped. I guess here between the barracks and the house would be a good place to put those trebuchets in. Maybe trying to clean. Oh, I think there's a conscious decision to take out this house just to be able to put the trebuchet there, which is good awareness. But Cavalier in for Hitman now. 16 of them and more in queue. Let's see. Can the mine crossbows defend? Are the repair villages enough? Or is the 2 minutes of extra imp time going to propel Hitman to be able to take out that enemy castle? Some genitures even being added now. Creative choice there. Oh no, actually, excuse me, that is just a camel archer. I'm just blind. In go the cavalier trying to take out this trap. Is he just going to suicide a few of those in return for the trebuchet? I believe he's going to do that, and that's going to be a great trade for him. Even deletes the market. And where are the monks for the Mayans? Where have they sent them? I can't find them at all. Oh, it's at home. There's some cavalry raiding going on, and great distraction tactic there by Hitman. Actually able to raid at multiple points here, distracting the enemy monks, and this is absolutely terrible news for RBase, who's down 25 villages, has lost that forward castle, and is also simultaneously being raided while being trapped from the other side. All he's got in terms of army is this little stack of crossbowmen, but I'm not sure that's going to cut it for him. Man, this is a real tough look. There's no place in his land currently where he can safely farm eco. So what an amazing game so far from Hitman. He's really done yeah, amazingly here. Can't lie, pretty impressive here from the 11th seed against the 3rd. Let's see if RBase can somehow push this back though, or maybe he's already thinking about potential ways to play in game 2, because this one is really looking rough. Still got a few traps, of course. That one castle in the middle of his village, still able to put out a few units, but I'm not sure he's got an answer for all of these cavalier right here. He's tacked into pikemen, but there's none on the field, and the cavalier are now diving the town center, trying to take out the crossbowmen and the traps as well. Oh, it's bloody massacres here all around for Hitman, and I think that's surely got to do it, as he's even able to save his castle. RBase recognizes it, and thus the first game goes over to the Berbers here. Hitman taking that upset victory on the neutral map. What a way to start off the series. Man, love to see it for him. What a cool game. There was action at all points, and the water, I think, was really tricky and provided lots of extra economy for the Berbers. But also the decisions on land were really good. The Mangonel micro, always trading at least evenly there, was all that they really needed. And then well-timed cavalier plays. Not sure RBase maybe could have walled a bit earlier, secured their eco a bit more. Not sure that forward castle was the right play. I'm not sure the thing is, I'm not sure what kind of other options they have. Maybe they also should have tried to castle some resources to the side or whatnot. But it was tricky at this point, already being behind mainly from naval play. I understand why you would kind of try and force the issue, try and get some advantages back at some points. Well, it was a good first game of the series, so now we go to the home map for RBase, which apparently, if we can trust this draft, is going to be Islands. Let's pull up that replay if we've got it. Yeah, seems to be right here. And this is an interesting island matchup, guys. Let's see, what are the 3 civs for both players? Saracens, Berbers, Lithuanians, Mayans, Koreans, Persians. Oh, interesting, actually. I would have thought maybe the Mayans would have been forced onto islands, but on the contrary, our islands matchup is going to be Persians versus Lithuanians here. Let's jump right into it as RBase tries to extend the series here on their home map. Surely they got something in mind for this one. Persia and Lithuania, two civs that definitely aren't bad on water maps. Both of them have some bonuses that can definitely apply and boost them, and can make for some interesting plays. Let's see what I mean by that as I pull up the bonuses here real quick. Starting off on the left side here with the higher seed on their home map, it's RBase on the Persians, classified as a cavalry civilization, but there's definitely much more to the Persians as they are. We see right there those bonuses, some very crucial ones. Faster working town centers and docks. How great does that sound for a water map, am I right? You've got also some extra starting resources, wood and food, exactly what you need on these water maps to get a good boom going. And of course, Persia, known for their cavalry, for their knights, but also for their elephants here, which we don't see a whole lot of the time, but just having such a smooth eco from the aforementioned couple of bonuses really makes knight play very smooth. With them, also with an attack bonus against archers, can oftentimes come into play very effectively too, although I don't think that's going to be the case in this one. On the other side, it's the Lithuanians, not as much of a well-known water civ, but with the extra food that you start with, it also makes for just being able to get onto water a bit faster than the average civ that isn't really naval. Also classified as a cavalry civilization, of course, but there's also some interesting other bonuses here. We know the trash unit bonuses there in terms of moving faster and getting extra pierce armor, which is really, really good for trash wars if it ever comes that far. But then also the most well-known bonus for Lithuanians, of course, the relic bonus. Every relic you pick up, +1 attack for your latest and knights. And you can imagine how potent that is, and especially on this type of map, I like this, because you're almost guaranteed, right, to be able to pick up 2 relics, since on islands, both players start with 2 relics on their respective islands, and those 2 you're almost always going to be able to pick up. Another one here placed in the middle. So honestly, I don't hate Lithuanians on this map. I think both players could definitely have gotten worse here. And that's the power of picking 3 civs that are really versatile and can work on all of the relevant maps. So these guys definitely did their preparation and ended up opting for some smart choices there. Okay, let's see Hitman's comments. Persians no bracer, he says, and Lithuanians have. So that is, of course, very relevant when you're talking about, archer play, but also when you're talking about galley play, which oftentimes is a big part of islands matchups. We can also just quickly check whether or not that is the case here. We've got some time, no bracer for the Persians, other than that, a full blacksmith. And then we've got the Lithuanians who've got the bracer available. Yeah, no plate mail armor for the infantry and also no blast furnace, but of course that can be counteracted by the relic bonus, at least for your relevant heavy cav. So let's see if this lack of bracer ends up being a problem for RBase at some point. We've got the forward dock for the Persians, and as I was told, forward dock means you want to go for fire ships, back dock means you want to go for galleys. Let's see. Both of these guys end up opening with forward docks. I don't think you always need to follow this rule in terms of front dock and back dock with galley and fire. One, of course, in terms of mind games, but also in case you want to go for any transports, or if you want to go for multiple docks. I don't think it's a iron rule set in stone, so to speak. Either way, RBase is the one up to fuel late first, but only marginally. Idle TC times very comparable here. Both probably rather happy with their builds. Lithuanians actually with 2 more villages. I guess they didn't, yeah, they didn't pick up Loom, that is why. Okay, no Loom for Lithuanians, and a little bit less idle TC time means they are able to go up with 2 more villagers and only trailing 20 seconds behind the Persians. So, I guess both these guys not gonna be too upset with that start. 3 fishing ships each, although another one is currently being added by Hitman. And then, of course, both going to go into water early. Second dock already being dropped by Persians, and looks like Hitman is going to follow suit in just a moment here. Don't make me look stupid, please. All right, there we go. So I wonder, so far it looks all standard here in terms of, yeah, water, nothing crazy, no super early landings. Scouting with the fishing ship actually here out of RBase, trying to maybe cop a feel for what the opponent actually is got in store. And we see the barracks now being dropped for Hitman. I'm actually not sure that is standard. Yeah, ends up cancelling the barracks. I was just gonna say, do we really want the barracks right here? And it looks like the answer was no. And yeah, maybe a bit confusion there. But both these guys end up opting for some fire ships first. Double dock for both as of now. And maybe we can see some interesting water micro here. Too greedy with the fourth fishing ship potentially. Maybe. Let's see how it turns out. Persia able to get out that first salvo of attacks. That's the 20 seconds of faster fuelage time paying off here. And able to put the opponent's fish on run. Now, it is a 2 for 2, and the defender's advantage is of course real in terms of always having the reinforcements there first. But here comes the next couple of fire ships already, and it's been a third dock added actually by the Persians. So, in terms of numbers, it's looking good for them. They got up to feudal age first, and also had their second and third docks up faster than the opponent. So maybe that's going to be resulting in some sort of a naval lead here. Lots of damage already to the fishing ships, but the repair comes in, and so far I think Hitman is kind of keeping themselves afloat quite well, able to actually not lose any warships here so far, and only that one fishing ship, I guess. Shouldn't chase too far though, because still the difference in uptimes and the extra dock there from the opponent makes it a bit risky here trying to trade. And you see those Ferrari galleys are getting low. The repair villager is doing some heavily lifting though, and so far at least Hitman is able to defend those units. Now is going for the barracks though, so doesn't just want to go for the market blacksmith castle age. Both these guys still ways away from castle, of course. Naval play is taking priority so far. We've got a demolition raft out for both players and a second one queued up for Hitman already. Big fight in the middle, and that's going to be a good demo. Oh, I think it was 3 ships damaged by that. But another demo coming out now, this time around from the side of the Persians. But Hitman is going to answer right back. Ooh, that's some good shots here. But I think Hitman actually won those trades. Sadly ends up losing the low HP fire ships, though. Real nice micro by RBase, always focusing the lower HP ones. And actually it's him who ends up winning here. And a galley ends up coming out for Hitman now. Alright, that is quite curious. Might have been a misclick, because one lone galley I don't think is usually a good investment. Decent demo shots, excuse me, at least though. And another one comes out. Still getting some fine value out of those, but the fish are starting to get cleaned up. Maybe Hitman sensing that they are losing the grip on water and thus already warding up a bit at home in case the landing were to follow through soon. Okay, so the water has gone over to RBase. The favorite trying to assert themselves here on their home map, trying to take back, or at least stay in this series really, because they're gonna need to win back-to-back games here if they want to move on to the semi-finals. The lone galley for the Lithuanians able to escape into the distance, and some more fire ships as well as the demolition rafts are being queued up here, actually in all 3 of them, so really heavy investment into demos as well. Looks like RBase is well on the way to castle age though, with the fishing ships now carrying them a bit as well, and the eco lead is 8 right now. Oh goodness, that idle TC time for Hitman really rough. I think losing that fish kind of threw his eco balance off a lot. 2.5 minutes of idle and counting. 9 extra eco units on the side of Persia. Not the greatest start for the Lithuanians, all things considered. Trying to now fight back against those fire galleys, but the reinforcements are already there. And you need some great demo shots in order to be able to win this encounter here. Twice the numbers on the opponent's side, but out comes the demo. Oh, that was a juicy one. The next one actually going to come in and I think take out 2 fire ships. And man, these trades are pretty decent, despite not resulting in the overall victory here on water. And again, the focus just isn't there. Focusing 3 different ships with the 3 fires that it was using there. Hitman. Oh, all 3 enemy ships escaping on such low HP. Real good micro there on water from RBase so far. Other than paying attention to demo ships, he's kind of made no mistakes there. I've loved the micro so far. And Hitman again going to need to build up a few fires and demos. Try and find some even better trades there. Okay, how are they going to get up to Castle Age though? The idle TC time has kind of been salvaged, thankfully. I've also brought over some units that I haven't even seen. I didn't even see that transport ship leaving. But there is a forward now. And we see actually a archery range being made here. Alright, a spearman and the scout having landed on that Persian island. I hope they haven't been spotted yet. I would actually not want to stand close to the coast like this. If the opponent is supposed to be surprised and caught off guard by my forward landing. And the water skirmishes are going decent now, but you've got to be careful. I think this is again pushing it a little bit too far here to the opponent's side. Could have taken out the low HP one at least though. Still, the opponent has some repair villages here. I think, yeah, it's rough for the Lithuanians because simply sitting at home doesn't do them anything. They have no more fishing ships to defend. So I guess you gotta move forward if you want to do any damage on water and make your investment worthwhile. Issue being, of course, the numbers just aren't there just yet. And that's going to be the galley gone rather soon, I imagine. Again, coming forward with a demolition ship is Hitman. And fighting against the enemy Castle Age now. Immediately, the war galley upgrade is on the way for RBase. And Hitman is going to lose a lot of ships here. The demo rafts are quite quick moving here. And are still finding great shots. But RBase doing a great job at always investing exactly so much into water as to not lose complete grip of it. Only issue being the sneaky landing there really must have been unexpected because I don't think RBase has scouted this yet. Or have they? We finally have the scout in the area here. And no, it doesn't look like they actually ended up scouting this just yet. So unfortunate. I think they are on the lookout for some cheesy plays here. As they drop that second town center in the west. But only now able to actually spot the enemy archer range. Alright, at least now they know what's up. Question is, can they react? A few archers have already come out from Hitman, but this gives RBase some time to react to this one. The spearman here, great addition actually, just bringing that one guy over, makes him win that scout fight. On water it's now looking grim though with the Castle Age timing there, of course. Demolition rafts don't even do a whole lot against war galleys, so you really need to get that Castle Age sooner rather than later for Hitman, who's kind of been walled out here, able to punch their way in, but gonna need to pull actually in there with all the army if they want to find any villager kills, and it's looking great. Why did those villagers come over from RBase? They'd already pulled off the majority of them off the wood line here, but still ends up losing another 1 or 2 to this raid. Eco KD now 4-1, so it is a start, but it's gonna need to be much more than that for Hitman in order to make this forward building worthwhile. Having lost the water entirely at this point, it's kind of their only bet, needing to do some damage on land. The archers are doing a magnificent job though, firing away at those villagers. Gold villagers now being pressured. There is fletching in for Hitman, so those archers, they hit extra hard. And now gotta be careful with the town center, but okay, he's getting some good kills. So it's not all in vain, and Persia kind of scrambling to find a response here. With the stables being added and a few knights coming in, that could be some real trouble on land. Persia really must not underestimate the threat that is this landing. Some knights of their own are of course going to be great against those archers. Remember the team bonus for the Persians, +2 attack against archers. Man, look at the damage. Boom, they 3-shot those archers pretty much, so definitely not what you want to fight, not the trades you want to take if you're Hitman, but maybe transition into knights can yield good benefit. Still, the 2 relics at home would give extra attack to the knights if needed. So that could be a decent option. And some monks forward I would also like. And there is the monastery actually, so good job. Currently housed is Hitman. But if they were able to get a few monks out here and then come back to push with those archers and knights, that might be more difficult for the Persians to actually stop and deal with. Because the eco is really a bit out of sorts here actually for RBase. Still on those 3 fishing ships only, and on land there's just not enough farms yet to be able to recover and to keep the town centers producing, so that's a ton of ILTC time having crept up over the last few minutes. Really good response by Hitman just when it looked like that water fight might have cost him the game. The landing came through and it was successful here. RBase really gonna be kicking themselves for not checking with that scout a little bit more thoroughly, I believe. Because had that response been a little bit faster, I think this game could be looking much different right now. Still, it isn't a horrible game state for the Persians. Still up in villager numbers, and they do have some time now to react to this one. The answer seems to be a little bit of everything here. Monk, knight, camel. They're gonna need bigger numbers though. And really the bottleneck right now is the eco, the low numbers of all resources, but of course the food mainly, because you gotta decide, do I want to make camels and knights or do I want to make villagers? That's never a decision you want to have to make. And this is not a good choice here. You don't want to throw away your numbers like this. He's lucky that he didn't actually get converted there, but man, that's not a good start to this defense. And actually Hitman might be able to turn this one around despite having 0 control over land at all. Over water, excuse me. Oh, this eco is an absolute shambles right now for RBase. And they've got to find any idea here what to do about these raids, because knights, archers and monks, it's a tough combo to deal with. Of course Hitman's eco isn't great themselves, but the units are already here and the damage is being done. As the crossbowmen inch forward and start firing away at those villagers. Blacksmith upgrades start coming in. Redemption even. Oh, that is a bold upgrade. I'm not sure I would actually go for this in Hitman's case, but actually I guess if you have the military control, you can afford to sort of push forward with your monks. Let's see if the monk micro is good enough to justify this. Coming forward is Hitman, and if he's able to convert this production, yeah, that's exactly what he's going for. That could be a big hit to the opponent's eco. Let's see if RBase reacts to this one. He can't let this go unpunished here and deletes the stables. Oh, you hate to see it. A monk or a knight at least able to pop out of there, and that is 5 knights, so at least he's starting to build up numbers again. The defensive stables further back start coming out, but all this stuff now continues to be deleted. I'm not actually sure that is... I don't like the choice. I don't think you should delete your blacksmith like that. You want the enemy monk to actually use up that faith and convert the blacksmith instead of just deleting it, because it's not of any use to the opponent. At least not any use to speak of. But either way, it has been deleted, and the monks continue to get more in number as Persia continues to get pushed back on land, and no landing of their own has been undertaken by RBase. Still scrambling to find a response on land, which just is not there yet. The monk and knight and camel numbers creep up ever so slowly, while Hitman is able to add more of them themselves. That's a good number of cavalry already. No monks yet, or no relics yet picked up at home. That is, I guess, the only downside here. Those knights not with a lot of upgrades just yet, but the armor upgrades are in, and that is of course big. Bodkin arrow on the crossbowmen as well, so they are pretty effective. If conversions end up coming in too, that could be horrible for RBase. He's running into this head on. Oh, I don't think any conversions actually ended up completing, but oh boy. You're missing something, Hitman says. Oh, that was 8 minutes ago. I guess maybe that was the landing. I'm sorry if I ended up missing that. But this is a real tough one. RBase has just not found any response at all to what's going on land. Oh man, and I think he's gonna lose everything here in terms of army. He feels like he has to take a stand, but it's just not possible here. Losing all those knights and camels, there's just... Oh, he's lost his last safe spot to kind of farm in or mine that gold. The answer now is a castle. Let's see if he at least is able to put this one up. Maybe that could give him some more space to work with, but all those villagers really exposed to the knights. And I think maybe Hitman might just be able to dive this one. This would be absolute horror if the castle was denied, but it is enough villagers so that it is definitely going to go up. At least a good job at least being consistent there by RBase, able to get the villagers out of harm's way for now, but without murder horses we can see the knights now turn on the castle and start chipping away at that. Monks also still around, continuing to convert stuff. And more deletions end up coming out for RBase, which again I don't think is the correct decision every time. Man, and still 6 crossbowmen alive as well for Hitman, so he's really taking minimal losses while inflicting massive damage on the opponent. I think he's just spotted the other town center. Oh, this is going to be bad. This raid. Oh, he could have taken out the enemy castle, but now choosing to turn on the town center in the north, I guess thinks twice about it and notices that, well, the town center has murder holes, so that's not going to be all that easy. Monk not able to actually get that conversion. Pretty unfortunate for RBase. And this push has been going great considering the circumstances. Hitman at this point with a real big army actually on the enemy land. Still no relics being taken. This is kind of, I mean, it's a low elo thought to always have. Pick up the relics, pick up the relics. You want the relics. I need my bonus. But maybe could be a good choice to soon start investing into that. I think the resources are definitely there. Another castle now being attempted from the western angle here to kind of cut off the raids into that town center. I think kind of solidifying that stone and gold down here would actually be the better choice if it was possible. But those walls were real late, and man, that's another mass of villagers dying. Hitman is getting such great success here and damage off of these knights, and there's no answer whatsoever. Look at the eco numbers. RBase is barely ahead in eco, and the army is just massive for the Lithuanians having denied this castle. It's just what you hate to see in RBase's place. And that castle is going to be taken down before it ever goes up, it looks. Man, what a surprise here. RBase might just be taken out here on his very home map. That I certainly did not expect. Still, it's not over yet. Maybe he's got something left in store, but the eco continues to get worse as the knights raid in his back line. And he's also soon to lose the eco he's got in the west here. So at this point, Hitman's gonna love the game state that he's in. Putting up another monastery. Maybe the siege workshop wasn't actually in the best position. But it's kind of bullshit that this is in range, am I right? I mean, seriously. But still, another array of villagers tries to get on over to complete the castle. But this is pure desperation. Even if you get this one up, there's 0 HP on it. What are we doing here? This castle isn't even worth trying to build at this point. Oh, poor RBase. You can see that he's really not aware of how he could turn this game around, if it is possible at all. I couldn't tell you honestly, because it's looking real bad at this point. Masonry here. It's an attempt to make the buildings last longer. Trying to put gates around the castle, blocking the rams. It only is short-term solutions for him so far. And still no pikemen, no monks, no camels, nothing against the knights. And the castle is late again. It's what I said 2 minutes ago. This is the better castle location than the one in the west. And you see why. those resources would have been great to pick up in the east. All the while the raiding was going on in the west. Thankfully the castle goes up this time around. But it's again another massive raid out of the knights. And surely this has got to be the game, right? I mean, 50 against 80 villagers. Screw water control. Lithuanians have taken full control of this game and still no murder holds. So these knights don't necessarily even have to take any damage running around here. Castle falls, so does the monastery. RBase has fallen apart there on their home map. They had such great early micro on the water. Did a great job winning the naval warfare. But man, the push on land was so good. And despite being spotted just before he actually ended up pushing, Hitman was able to convert here and get huge success out of it. Maybe that mining camp was personal. This is a very late attempt at RBase to try and turn this one around. Having had naval control the entire time, I think RBase just thought, I just need to hold on my own land. I don't need to land the enemy. I've got the water control. All I need to do is survive. Well, turns out they weren't able to survive, and thus this is now a doomed game state. Last ditch effort was this landing here by this little lady. She's not gonna make it though. She's really not going to be around for that much longer. Even a castle now being dropped there by Hitman. And he's going to go up to Imp soon, I feel. 90 villagers. Almost got the rest. And as soon as the castle go up, I gotta feel like he's going to be able to click up himself. Oh, it's disaster there for RBase, really. What an impressive result though for an 11th seed against the 3rd seed. To win on their home map too and close the series out 2-0 potentially, as Imp is now on the way for the Lithuanians. The Rams are gonna get taken out, but that's a small price to pay for this town center up north, even having taken out the castle as well and such. So it's not gonna be complaining about this one, folks. It's definitely not. Look at those villager numbers. It's 37. The 18 fishing ships surely help. I mean, adding water eco is the only thing you can do right now, because that's the space that you control and you can safely access. Maybe it could have also taken the middle islands. That could have been a decent idea too, and outsource some eco on over there, but it's all a bit late. Oh my. Picking up relics would be very good is what you say, Hitman. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I always pick them up too early, but yeah. At this point, I think you also could have afforded to do that. You had other focuses, which is completely understandable, and you won the game that way, probably. I mean, let's see what happens, but mate. The one will castle, yeah, to establish dominance, I'm sure. Yeah. All doesn't matter, though, because it's not like this castle wasn't a crucial spot or anything. Maybe just there to get some tax out of it, or, well, to secure your beachhead on the other island. Whatever it was, it went up, so probably not gonna look back on that one. I mean, this guy, he's putting in overtime. I hope he's getting paid extra. He's gonna need to work some night shifts as well if he wants this stable to go down. Ugh, mate, it's a rough look there for the Persians. There's just no space that is safe right now. He's given some time to actually farm up a little bit in the south now, but at this point I don't think Hitman minds too much actually just going into a couple more town centers himself and building up villages, getting all the upgrades. Really difficult to see what would stop them. And the trebuchets, of course, that is the most important thing, yeah. Now an Imp being able to make trebuchets on the opponent's island, it makes sense. At least, finally, RBase was able to create a couple of production buildings on Hitman's side. Let's see what the response to that is going to look like. Eco for RBase doesn't really permit him to start a huge unit production, but having 30 on food, mainly fishing ships of course, might permit him to go for some light cavalry, which is exactly what he's doing in this instance. Trebuchet production having begun as well. Town center goes up, that's plus 100 food of course, for the Lithuanians as always. And this night mass, maybe you would want to transport it actually back home now, but not having the water control really makes this difficult. So you just gotta need to add some production buildings at home. Yeah, those light cover rates, they are definitely unpleasant. I think just adding a few pikemen maybe could be a good answer, since as the Lithuanians, your pikemen are faster moving, they might get a couple of extra hits in on the enemy light cavalry that regular pikemen wouldn't be able to do. But now on the offense, with all these upgrades having come through, the cavalry are that much stronger as well. With the trebuchet, he's probably going to be able to push the enemy castle. That said, though, he lost one of the trebuchets, so you gotta protect your trebuchets better than that. They are a big investment, and again, I think just add a few pikemen. Put a few pikemen on every woodline, every stone camp, every gold camp, and let the enemy light cars run around. I think that's what I would do in this type of situation, honestly, because it's not like he's putting massive pressure with that. Another transport ship actually comes over there, and it's more economy by Hitman trying to be outsourced, but that's not the spot you want to land. Luckily for RBase, he just had the knights in the area, ends up taking out these guys, and Hitman in the last couple of minutes has been slacking a bit, has taken some losses. This is a bit negligent, isn't it? I mean, oh, okay, I mean that's illegal. No way that monk survived. I call BS on that one. Well, it ended up dying anyways. Oh, the town center garrison. Okay, yeah, I'm just a bit slow in the head. Oh man, it's getting a bit chaotic at this point. Hitman is in a great spot still. Huge eco lead, up to import ready. Opponent is years away from that, but Hitman hasn't done a lot more damage in the last couple of minutes. Priority seems to be to push back the enemy landing spot, I guess, which is fine. But they definitely want to make sure to push on land as well, and that's exactly what he does, putting the trebuchets forward now. And RBase is really running out of options at this point. Alright, man. Bracket F. Some mid to high elo stuff here. I love to see it. These have been competitive games, certainly, but Hitman has pretty much outmaneuvered and had great decision making here, getting them the wins. And whatever plan they went for very decisively. I think that's kind of the biggest part of it as well, is being consistent with your plans and sticking to them and not half-assing them, because that oftentimes ends up costing you more than it actually nets you. But with this force now, I don't see how RBase pushes this back, really. Don't think that's gonna happen here. Yeah, he's just spending stone for the sake of spending stone here, trying to repair this castle. You're not buying yourself time for anything. Well, technically he is. He's buying himself time for camel production, but these camels don't stand a chance there, if we're being fair. So it seems like the fire on the Hitman's home island have all been put out. No relics yet been collected. Could now even think about collecting the relics on the opponent's island, but I guess RBase is doing a decent job of guarding the relics, making sure at least they don't get taken away. Castle goes down though. Is this what pushes him over the edge to GG? Apparently not. Well, I really don't see the way forward anymore. There's just this one town center left and no castles. Oh, he's at least now put some eco in the middle. That's a good choice, because that has been his and under his control only for the entire game. But that too has just been too late an adaptation here. Oh, the insult to injury, the conversion of the buildings. Oh, you hate to see it. The camels. Alright, maybe that's the last hope that the Persians have right now. Get out a few more camels and try to find a good engagement that way. Be very surprised if Hitman let this happen. He's losing a few cavalier here for free, quote unquote, which I'm not a fan of. Now ends up taking into pikemen. I wonder why. Maybe to deal with the camels. Okay, he really wants to take a good fight. I think he could have just outmuscled these camels here. But either way, I guess he's taking into pikemen, and now trying to use that against the camels primarily. Going to work out just as fine. 17 camels still left alive for RBase, and making a few more, but don't think that's gonna help against 30 cavalier mage. And no way of getting up to Imperial Age as well, so Yeah, I kind of would like to see Hitman force the issue and press it a little bit more. But it has kind of been his style to take it more slowly and conservatively, and he's been doing very well with that approach. So not faulting him for that one. Bracket F is the place to cast. Why is that? As RBase throws out the GG, Hitman takes a 2-0 here, man. I'm not sure if we've seen a 2-0 in a series this lopsided in terms of seeding, but well, we've just seen it. Hitman takes a win over RBase to move on to the semifinals as the 11th seed. Oh boy. Oh boy. He's gonna have first pick in every series of this tournament, isn't he? Is bracket F this wild? I'm not sure. I don't think I've cast any games from this bracket before. I don't recognize any of the names from my casts. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't look like it. It's all between like 14 and 1600 elo, so definitely interesting. And some games that I can definitely also learn stuff from. So it might be worth visiting it a bit more. And of course, as the tournament draws on, as we go into the later rounds, there's not going to be as many games in every bracket, so I'm going to be casting more brackets naturally. I would say I've got time to cast maybe like... How many series have I cast a week so far? I think could say like 12 maybe like 12 series a week. And of course, as we get into later weeks of the tournament, that's going to mean I'll be able to cast more different brackets. So far, I've stuck more so to the lower elo ones, but this one has been very enjoyable. And maybe that is a good indicator. I should check out some of the higher elo play as well. Huggy's games sounded good as well, you say. Round 1 or round 2? Maybe I will check that out as well. I want to cast one more series today now. But we'll see. That's not going to be that one, but maybe I'll note that down and cast that another time. In general, that is interesting. Thanks for the follow, by the way, Hitman. Cool to have you. Would be cool to have you check out these casts every now and then. So, yeah, always a pleasure. When people ask me to cast their games, I always do it. If nobody asks me, I'll just cast random sets, mostly of the lower brackets. So, that being said, this was the series here between RBase and Hitman. Congrats to both these guys for their placements in the tournament, or at least, yeah, Hitman, of course, still in the event, so good luck going forward there. It's a 2-0, and I'll cast another series right after that. I'll cut the stream right here, and I'll go right back live with the next series from this tournament. Thanks to everybody for joining me.